What is up, YouTube? Well, I've been slacking. Been a while since I made a video. So we're supposed to be, there I go with the immediately. First video in probably 6 months. To the race car. The program hasn't been doing so well. I got the new turbos on it, changed the cold side up. It's frustrating with the, anyways. New cold side. Only has 2 couplers now instead of, I think I had 6 or so. Let's see. Try to catch everything up on what's happened so far. With the new turbos, got them hooked up, ran it down the road. Was curious if my VE table was going to change or not, because in theory it should have more air, it would be leaner, I would have to add fuel. That was not the case up to like 22 pounds, so I reached out to Forced Inductions and asked him about it, and he said that these turbos they're not even working at 20 pounds. So I've came to the conclusion that to make big power I'm going to need 30 plus pounds, when 30 pounds was my max before. I was seeing a ton of heat and all that, which if you've seen the previous videos, you know that. By the way, this is going to be like a lot of talking and like a couple like test passes, a couple passes, short videos, clips, and probably some pictures of stuff that I've changed and whatnot. So if you don't want to see that, you should just check on out now. It's lots of talking. And the reason I'm doing this, like I said, we're going racing this weekend and we're going to see what happens. But anyways, back to it. Went and made a couple hits. Car didn't really feel no different. And I was still running out of fuel pump like instantly at 22 pounds or so. So I went down this road about what I was going to do about the fuel system. I thought about going to a brushless air motive, and I've seen lots of bad reviews, people having failures, and they're like $1,600. So the best way to do it is a mechanical fuel pump cable drive, and I was sold on a cable drive with room to grow. Should support like 2,200 horsepower on ethanol. I was sold on that, got everything, got the measurement for the cable, sent the guy the measurement for the cable, and was informed cables are on back order, and we were supposed to be racing shortly. So what we did, we went ahead and we did a private rental in Orlando on the backside for the shutdown race or whatever, and we were just going to focus on the 330, and we put down the fastest 330 that the car's done yet, you know, in Orlando. So we were happy with that, and we know it should mile per hour and be much faster on the backside when I can hit it with, you know, over 30 pounds of boost. So we were content there. And let's see what happened next. I borrowed a Magna fuel pump from my buddy Dustin, because his car is still being built. So we went that route, and I ordered new fuel lines. I had 2 AEM 380 pumps with a 8AN fuel line going to each rail. And now that I was going to be going to a single pump, I upgraded to a single 10 wide right at the fuel rails. So I borrowed his pump and we installed it, and we were going up to Douglas to test. Well, there was actually a race that day, so we were going to race. It was like a cash days or something, like just a 28, but there was testing before. It wasn't off the trailer, so we got there early. We set up, we made like 3 passes, and within 3 passes knocked off like 6/10, and then we were gonna squeeze in one more test hit before the buy-in, and the transmission broke. As soon as I let go of the trans brake, it broke. I heard like a pop, but the car felt like it had a misfire, and I kicked the door open and Will come cruising up, and I said, you know, why did it spin? And he said, it didn't spin. You want to try again? So I said, sure. I said, it's got a misfire. And at this point, wasn't sure. Backed up, reverse worked fine, put it in low gear, and there was nothing there. So I said, transmission's done for. Put it in high gear, drove it to the trailer, and I assumed that misfire was something in the transmission broke and it was vibrating around. That's what I thought that I felt. So pull the transmission out, take it over to my cousin Zeb's. He's built several transmissions, and he's got a lot of nice transmission tools. So took it apart, and the band, which I never adjusted, it's probably got like 60 hard passes on it. It just ate the drum up. Nothing necessarily broke, but I guess there was just too much clearance between the band and the drum, and it just chewed itself up. Let's see, where to from there. It's been ongoing. So I got all the parts, and then I decided to upgrade a little bit, and I did a Sonax Smart Tech servo. You can look that up. It's like a bunch of stuff about pin bias and whatnot. It's supposed to shift faster, blah blah blah. So I did that, and then I looked into doing a dump valve. Well, dump valves are like $550 for the kit, and I just did some research and sourced out the parts and got the same exact parts for like $240. Contacted FTI, thought I knew where to drill the valve body, asked them about it. They verified I was going to drill the valve body for an internal dump. Was talking to some other guys on the internet, and they said that they sent their valve bodies in for modification, that there's like a Gen 1 and a Gen 2 valve body. So called FTI back, and they said that what I wanted to do with just drilling it and tapping it would work, but that they do have a Gen 2 brake that's modified. So I was like, okay, I want that. I'm on my way. So drove down, because they're not far away, drove down, picked up new valve body, came back, put it in, put the transmission in the car, or cleaned out the converter as best I could with like a pump and some lacquer thinner. Put the transmission in the car. Let's see, where to from there. Well, while the transmission was out, I was running the car to let's see, to cycle the ethanol and to burn the moisture off the oil. So I would crank it, and I noticed it wasn't misfiring. Like the car didn't seem to run any differently, but one of the AFRs, I have wideband in each bank, and it was like a whole point rich. And I know the car was idling in different cells. Obviously, without a transmission on it, there's no load, so it was in cells that I just assumed that I didn't have tuned well, which explained the AFR. I don't know how I came up with that, but that's why I sold myself. Got the transmission back in, like I said, cranked the car up, was checking the fluid in the transmission, making sure it was up to level and all, and the AFR was still off. So I knew at this point something was wrong. So I took the temp gun, the same way that I found the broken rocker arms before. Just went down the header tubes, and number 4 cylinder was like 200 degrees colder than all the rest. So pulled the spark plug out, it was soaking wet, put a new spark plug in it. Cranked it up, and it was smoking, like just like it was this side, so just smoked out the whole garage like a train. Looked like I was doing a burnout. So from there, I did a leak down test, and it had 12% leak down in that cylinder cold, which I think is acceptable with cold, and it seemed to all be going by the rings anyways. So I pulled the valve cover off and found a push rod bent, rocker arm thrown off, pedestal cracked. So that explains that. So I buffed up the valve, polished it out, checked the retainer, let's see, put a new keeper in it, or a new lock, whichever you prefer to call it, and put it back together. I'm actually waiting on Amazon to drop off some spark plugs right now. Let's see. So I think that's about where we're at right now with the car. I drove it today, just down the road real quick, and just ran it up on the wastegates, which is like 8 pounds. Transmission shifts good. I still need to, I'm going to pull the valve covers off again tonight and check everything out, and then we should be loading up tomorrow, and we're going to go racing. So it may drop a valve, it may hold together, but I guess we'll see. We'll find out tomorrow. hopefully I'll get some good video of that event. It's like grudge racing, testing, and cash days Friday night, and then it's class racing on Saturday. And I'll be entering the Outlaw Street, which requires dash, seats, headlights, tag, insurance, working door windows, whether it's mechanical or electric, as long as they work. That's one of the rules. How they come up with these rules, I have no idea, but I was definitely concerned about the optic armor, because usually most of these classes are all steel, all glass, but as you can see, I don't really have that option to have a glass windshield. But so I'll go ahead and throw in some videos that we got from the Orlando testing or rental, whichever you want to call it, and then the couple of passes from Douglas when the transmission broke. And if you see John's old Monte Carlo chilling back there, I guess John was actually smarter than all of us, and he decided that a race car is a horrible financial decision, so he sold it to George, which you've probably seen in other videos, or if you know me, you probably know George. But he bought it, and he's been working on it pretty hard, and it should be a handful. So hopefully we'll get some footage on that. We just started it last night for the first time. I just brought it up to temperature and such, so we gotta do some tuning on it. It's Holly, which I don't know nothing about, so I'm kind of like, you need to learn Holly yourself. But he's doing good with that. He updated the firmware, which was like, I don't know, 6 years old or something, whenever John originally bought the Terminator. So we got that updated last night, and this one should be on the channel again shortly for you G-Body fans. But check out these clips, and like I said, I'll throw some pictures in there. If you hung in here this long, I apologize. It was probably brutal, but thanks for watching, and like, share, subscribe.